Hello everybody! Today I'm in my tea factory in Jingmai Tea Mountain and I'm gonna talk a bit about white tea. So we're now in the early spring of 2019 and so we're in early March and so far the tea hasn't sprouted that much yet. Well, it's the same every year. At the beginning of the season a few tea trees come out of the dormancy earlier than the others, so you get a scarce supply of tea leaves at the beginning of the season, and then the amount you get increases until it reaches a peak from late March to early April, you can say, and then the rain comes and it's kind of the end of the spring season. So actually the capacity of our tea factory is thought to meet the peak time, and the peak time is only 2 weeks in the year. So the question is, what do you do the 50 other weeks in the year? Well, for example, we have for withering poor tea, we've bought a few of these flat bamboo baskets on racks. Okay, we have 4 racks like these. These days we don't have enough leaves to fulfill the space with the space of those flat bamboo baskets. So what we can do is white tea. White tea is a very simple processing. I just go in the mountain and collect the leaves the tea pickers have harvested, and I simply lay them in a very thin layer like this, like you can see here, on a flat bamboo basket or any withering surface. It could be bamboo mattress, it could be a withering mat. It's better if it's aerated on both sides. Like you can see, these have little holes. It's because the tea is simply gonna dry by diffusion. Like in early spring the air is quite dry and your leaf is full of water, and slowly the leaf cells will become more and more permeable, and this water that's inside the cells will slowly evaporate. So that's as simple as this. You collect the leaves and you just spread them on those withering surfaces. Now in early spring the air is very dry, so this tea will typically be dry in 30 hours or so, a bit more than a day. So what you can do is, on the first day you collect them, you just spread them like this in a very thin layer, and then on the second day you can get back some of those, you can free some space in your factory and put them in a thicker layer. Okay, because when they are almost dry, then you can afford to have a slightly thicker layer. Now the size of the layer, the thickness of the layer you put the leaves in will really determine the degree of oxidation you will achieve. White tea is a half oxidized tea. There is no kilgreen process involved, so it means that the enzymes in the leaves are still active. It means that, well, if your tea dries fast at the beginning, it will be almost like green tea, and it will have a bit the taste of fresh leaves or of a very fresh green tea. As it ages, it will turn darker and darker because the enzymes are still active, and they are only slowed down because the tea is dry. Okay, if the tea is not dry, you will see that your leaves oxidize quickly. So for example, if you re-add water in the leaves after they've been made, for example you press that white tea in cakes, that pressing step will push the oxidation, and the week during which you'll be pressing the cake, after steaming it, you will see that your tea leaves will have turned darker. So now let's have a look at the tea we've made in the last couple of days. So typically in the very early spring you will have a lot of old leaves actually that have grown slowly, like during the winter. So it's a characteristic of the very early flush. You'll get a lot of yellow flakes in the tea. So for example, if you make poor tea, it could look a little bit like some autumn tea when you relate it to the amount of yellow flakes you have in it. So you can see that this material, I could consider it fairly tender if you compare it to this one. You can see that this tea has much fewer buds than this one, and it's simply because it was harvested in a different tea garden, and that flush had already gone quite old. So if you made that into poor tea, that would be most would be yellow flakes. And now, yeah, you can say if you make a white tea with that, you don't have that silvery aspect that you have with the tender material, but it still tastes pretty good, especially after pressing and aging. Well, in the past I thought like when you make white tea you need to have pure buds or one bud one leaves so that the leaves look very good, but I found out that generally after some aging, like after 1 or 2 years of aging and pressing the tea, you can get delicious, very sweet tea with older grades. Since the enzymes are not deactivated, it will age different from pu'er tea. It will actually oxidize much faster. Basically, this tea you see now is very green because it was dried only a couple of days ago. But even in 1 month it will be already a bit yellowish, and after 1 year or 2 years it will be orange, and typically they are kind of fully oxidized after 5 years. So that's how you make white tea. It's a very simple tea to make. The only drawback is that it takes a lot of withering floor in the factory, but if you're in the low peaks, you don't have much leaves compared to the size of your factory. It's very worth tea to make, and it doesn't require much skill to make that basic processing. So this is the processing of Moonlight white tea, the white tea we make in Yunnan. There are other ways to process the white tea. The general rule is that white tea only has a withering and a drying. So for example, you could also sun dry the leaves, or you could dry them in an oven with hot air without any other processing. You could make a mix of those techniques too. So even if the processing looks simple, there are actually many twists that you can add to this processing, and that gives the difference between Moonlight White and Bai Mudan. And of course then you can play on the grade, like Shoumei would be the low grade in Fujian, while Bai Mudan is the middle grade, and Bai Hao Inzhen is the high grade of Fujian white tea. In Yunnan we all call it Moonlight White Yuguangbai, but you can still find different grades of it. Okay, so that's about it for today. Please give us a like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe to our channel for more info about tea processing and agriculture, and leave comments about the white tea in the comment section. Have a good day. Goodbye.